the new creative avenues that are opening up for marketers, and something that you also briefly touched upon right now was podcasts. So, where do you see this evolving into? So, podcast is sort of like an unheard of thing, maybe like, 5, 6 years ago, and not that into the mainstream. But now we have so many people running huge podcasts, and a lot of these podcasts are actually having more reach than the mainstream news networks right now. So
Right, right.
these people are coming with massive reach, and marketers have an ability to tap into a huge audience. So how do you see this evolving, and what sort of business models do you see arising out of podcasts?
So to be very honest, we have kind of not really experimented a lot over it, and but that's part of our agenda for this year. We have been exploring, webinar and podcast channels both, either on our own or in collaboration. I think podcast is it's a very good mechanism to again reach out to your audience, something which has probably not got its real worth. Maybe in the Indian market as such. I have observed this happening a lot while my stay in the in Dubai or otherwise. I think in international market, podcast is something that's been used a lot. But in India, I've not really seen that happening a lot. Maybe my personal opinion. Like even in during this time of my marketing journey, I have never received an invite to attend a podcast. It's all being flooded about webinars. So I think that's a very good avenue to be explored further. And I remember I attended a webinar a few weeks back with some of the top industry, leading marketers from very big brands. And one of the CMOs out there, she very interestingly mentioned that I've started to enjoy the podcast, just being played in the background while I'm working in the kitchen. So I think podcast is something that really needs to be explored, and it still has the potential, but it's not getting that real worth, probably like because people of like us are not really utilizing it to the maximum extent. But now even when we talk about webinar, many of the engagements are shifting from the traditional laptop to the mobile. Many of our Zoom meetings are happening on mobile. So I think with that shift happening more, podcast might really get the attention, because that's where the tool lies. I don't really see people sitting on a laptop listening to a podcast. Like in my mobile, most of the content applications, even for example TEDx, I am a very good avid user of TEDx. So instead of opening up it on a laptop full screen on, or I like to quickly watch it over my mobile. So I think the more consumer shift of now, trying to interact and even attend meetings on mobile Zoom and all, the podcast might really come up. So that area should really be explored.
Interesting. I completely agree. So, especially the anecdote you gave about the CMO mentioning about how she consumes podcasts in the kitchen. So
Yeah.
that's also something I've observed personally. Where if obviously prior to lockdown, but while I was driving to work, I used to consume podcasts, and usually when I'm doing something else, because it's a very easy form of content to consume for people. You don't have to given your entire full attention. Like if you're watching a webinar or if you're watching a video, it requires your attention. But podcasts are something that can be consumed very easily, and I think that's one of the main reasons, especially in today's day and age, it's sort of taking off to a whole new level. And we've
Yeah.
seen
And I think it's been more targeted to the B2C market. Like, I don't know how to use Spotify. Now,
yeah.
Spotify is another where, a lot of podcasts are being pushed now regarding cricket conversations and all. So I think podcasts have initially or traditionally so far being used more for the B2C kind of content. B2B market is not really exploring
Yeah.
it more. Like I imagining me listening a cybersecurity conversation over podcast sound not too interesting, but listening a cricket conversation might. So I think that transition, if happens in a smooth manner, people would really start to enjoy even podcasts for B2B.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Spotify, they've announced some huge deals with some independent podcasters.
Yes, yes,
I'm sure you would have heard there's a huge podcast called the Joe Rogan Experience, and he
right,
signed
right,
$100 million licensing deal to Spotify for 3 years. So it
correct.
shows the evolution of podcasts, and who knows where it's going to go in the future.